We're here now this evening at the Centenary celebrations, and I'm delighted to say my first visitor is from the United States, is Mary Keelan Shaughnessy. Mary, would you like to tell me why you're here and the circumstances in which you came?
Well, it's rather unusual. I was looking into the Rylane National School on the internet and discovered that they were celebrating their centenary, and I sent an email to the principal asking if we could just come by to look at the school and perhaps some of the curriculum books. And she called me and said that we could come by today, inviting us to come by today to be at the opening celebration, and that's why we're here.
And of course, your mother went to school here. Yeah. Can you tell us a little about your mother?
Yes, I should have said that first, that the main reason I was interested in the Rylane National School is because my mother went here. My mother was born in 1905, and she went here probably in the early days of the school, and I just always remembered her mentioning it, and she's gone a long time now, but I do remember the school. I remember things she studied, and she was wonderful for quoting poetry and remembering opening lines of chapters of Dickens, and a lot of history, both English history and Irish history. And so I was always very curious as to what kind of a school it was, where it was, and what it was like.
And of course, I'm very lucky to find that I had a cousin that I didn't know of, because I think you and I are related. It may be a little far out, but we're still related, aren't we?
That's right. And that was the serendipity of a very serendipity experience, in that when Michael first said in an email that we were related, and the principal had said to me there was a cousin as part of the committee, I thought, I don't know any cousin out here. And as it turns out, I'm pretty sure we are related, because my cousin's in New York, and my two aunts are the two aunts, Teresa and Helen, are the sisters of Michael's mother. So I would say that by maybe a few degrees of separation, not anywhere near 6 degrees, we are related.
Now, Edward, your husband came with you. Yes. Edward, maybe you just say one word to me here as you're in the room. I won't ask you any awkward questions, but just we say one word anyway as you're here. Now, this is Edward Shaughnessy, Mary's husband. And Edward, I'm going to ask you, did your relatives come from Ireland?
Yes, they did. My father's family came from Galway, around Kinvara, and they went from... We have people from all over the world who are either O'Shaughnessy's or Shaughnessy's, and we just finished a rally. That's why we're fortunate enough to be here. And there were 50 people by the name of either Shaughnessy or O'Shaughnessy from all around the world. It was wonderful.
Well, very nice to have you here, Edward, and thank you very much for coming and bringing me with you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Now I have Joanne Walsh Lyons. I call her Joanne Walsh always. I'll never get around to calling her Joanne Lyons. Joanne is with me. Joanne, tell me, you went to school here in Rylane. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did. We had a great time. The classes were very, very small back then. There was only 6 in my class, right. 6 girls. There's only 2 of us now in Rylane out of all that 6.
So the rest went away and you stayed in Rylane?
Well, I went away for a little while and then I came back again.
Right.
I married the boy up the road.
You fell in love?
We did.
And of course, Abigail and Laura are going to school here now. Do you find that school here now today is much different to your day?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. It's great, really, how it's come on in all those years. You know, from the point of view of the desks, we used to be squished in together in one of those desks. But it's great for the children now. They're all into their computers and I don't know, they're much more able these days, I think.
And they love going to school, of course.
Absolutely.
You didn't always like going to school, did you?
I used to really like when the weather used to freeze, because the outside toilets would freeze and we'd all have to go home.
But it was an ill wind doesn't blow somebody good, isn't it? And of course, James, your husband, went to school here as well.
James went to school here as well. He was a couple of years ahead of me now,
Right.
going to school. But yeah.
Yeah, so you would be, I suppose, the third. No, Laura and Abigail would be the what generation of Welshes?
The third generation. Yeah, third generation. Yeah.
Well, Joanne, it's lovely to talk to you again. And I hope the girls, you keep enjoying yourselves in the school while you're here. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now, our next visitor here that I have tonight is Father Donald Roberts, parish priest of Macroom. Father Donald, you were parish priest here for some time.
From 2003 to 2009.
And you were a regular visitor to the school, I suppose, in that much time.
I was regular, all right, but my friend Father Timmy was even more regular. Father Timmy was on the board of management and he was more or less the chaplain here. And I often met him up here. We had great times together here in the school. He used to do First Communions, and as you can remember, he was a bit of a shanny key, and he was great to talk to the students. He used to do a gay burn with the students here in Rylane, and I always enjoyed the First Communions. And I actually had the privilege of doing First Communions just myself when Timmy was gone.
Well, and indeed, it was a sad loss when Timmy departed from us, wasn't it?
Oh, it was very sad, and you know, he was looking forward to his retirement, and he just got 2 good years before the health caught up with him. But I know his great friends here in Rylane. He loved Rylane and Courtrai and Ahabulloch, and I know he's sadly missed, but he's very much remembered by all of us.
And you're busy in Macroom now, Father? You're kept busy all the time?
Well, I am busy, yeah. I suppose being a town is different than being in a country, but I suppose in the country then you have 3 churches, so sometimes maybe during the Easter ceremonies or at Christmas you could actually be busier in the country. I'm very happy in Macroom, but I certainly do miss my friends in this parish, and I'm delighted to be back in Rylane tonight.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Father Donald Roberts, for coming to see us this evening. Thank you again.
Lovely privilege to be here, and I wish the school many more happy and good years, and congratulate everybody, teachers and everybody, for the great success and the students they produce over the years.
Thank you very much indeed. Now I have here with me one former student, Vicky O'Sullivan, and of course our principal, Marani Kosig. Vicky, you're holding your crochet doll there. We have a load of photographs up there, and I see you're up there on that photograph as well. Can you tell me when that was made and how long did it take?
I think I was in about fourth class. Fourth class, yeah. It was done over a few weeks anyway. It definitely took about 4 weeks maybe. Yeah.
Excellent student, so no problem to Vicky.
No problem to Vicky. So, and it still has stood the test of time now since you left.
Yes.
That's very good. Mary, can you have done a marvellous job on the photographs up there. Can you tell me about how many photographs you think might be up there?
Nearly 300.
Nearly 300 photographs, yeah.
And some that are, and it's going through the decades from the 1910s, 20s, 30s, up as far as the 2014s. We just did it in decades, the same as the stories in the book. There were different people representing the different decades. So we tried to get the photographs to correspond with the actual stories of the people. Naturally enough, there weren't that many photographs, in the 1910s and 1920s, but they more than made up for it in the 200s and the 210s.
Do you see a lot of changes in the students that you taught and they're coming back here today?
Well, they're still fine people, and no, I can't say. I know there were fine people going through the school, and they've turned out to be smashing people. Vicky's just a representative of those.
And Vicky, you're teaching in Bartlemy, am I right?
Yeah.
Are you enjoying the job as teacher?
Oh yeah, I love it there. Yeah,
You
definitely love school here, and it's.
So
fine.
on that, we have 2 teachers here now, and thanks a million for talking to me tonight. Thank you. Now, next visitor here to the school is Noel Ring. Noel is back with us again in Rylane after a period of living away. Noel, are you happy to be back in Rylane again?
I am.
And you went to the school here, of course, and what are your memories of it?
Well, I suppose when I started here, there was only two in our class. Right. There was myself and Martina Kelleher. We were the only two in the class, and we had to sit together, and we weren't overly happy about it, you know, me sitting with a girl and all that kind of thing. Yeah. But when we finished here, there was 8 in our class. Ginny Leahy and Julie Sullivan, and then Scanlan and myself and Denise Sullivan from Kilnamatra. So we had a good crowd when we left, but when we started, it was very bare, to be honest.
And which of you were the taller, yourself or Liam Scanlan?
Myself or Liam Scanlan, I don't know. I'd nearly claim it, but
yeah, I think I'd give it to you. All right, I think you may have an inch on him. All right. So you're working locally?
Yeah. I'm working back in the factory back in Macroom. We're making baby food with Nutricia. So and my oldest girl is after starting now. She's in junior infants. So that'll be the 3rd generation of us in the school now.
That's brilliant. And Nutricia are busy all the time?
We're very busy, thank God. We're very busy. There's a lot of people working there now.
And what do you think? Is there a lot of changes even since you left school, as short a time as it is?
Oh, there's an awful lot of changes. What's here at the moment is fantastic. The pitch and the hall and all the classrooms, they're top rate at the moment, you know. They're absolutely brilliant.
So you're very happy to send your child back here to school?
More than happy. Yeah.
Noel, thank you so much for talking to me. Well, now I have the privilege of talking to 2 beautiful girls from Spain, and they're going to have a little chat with me. First of all, can you tell me your name?
Yes, I'm Maria.
I'm Christina.
I'm Christina, Maria and Christina. And how long have you been in this country?
I have been here for 8 months.
8 months.
Yes, we went here together.
You came together?
Yes.
Oh, very good. So you're working as au pairs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And what is your impression of Ireland?
Oh, we are delighted with this country. Beautiful landscapes, very kind people here. Yes, very close people. Yeah.
And you concur with that?
Yes, I really agree with her. Yes. I'm very happy here.
Yes. Very good. So you're both studying journalism?
We finished our degree last June. And then we think that the first step that we had to take was improving our English, yes.
Lovely. And you tell me you're both heading away soon?
We are going back to Spain next 10th of June, yes.
Yes, we would like to find a job as a journalist there in Spain.
Lovely. So what would you say to Rylane School? I see you walking up and down with children there. Do you think it's a nice place here?
Oh yes, Rylane is a very nice place. It's a very small village, but really nice.
It's very quiet and it's great.
And I'll have to ask you, did you find any boyfriends?
Oh no, we have our boyfriends in Spain. Actually.
Yes, they are there.
And you're keeping them there?
Yes. We are with them, yes. Perfect.
Thank you very much, girls, for talking to me. Thank you very much indeed. Well, my next guest here is Breeda OBrien. It sounds strange to me to call you Breeda OBrien because I know you better as Breeda Harley. Breed, we went to school together. And we had some good memories. Did you have good memories of Rylane School?
I certainly did, Michael. I suppose thinking back on it at that time, we didn't think so because we didn't think school was a great place at all. But when you look back at it now over the years, sure, we really had a great time. We had a lovely time going to school.
We did indeed, and our children went there then, they I don't think they had as good a time as we had.
Well, they think that they had a better time, but I'm not so sure about that. You know, they think that things were far better when we tell them about our time. But I suppose that's the way generations go.
And of course, you're hoping, now that you have grandchildren, you're hoping that some of them at least will attend here anyway. Would you recommend it to your grandchildren now?
Oh, I certainly would, and I would certainly hope that our school will be here for our grandchildren. You know, I came here myself. My father before me came here. My own children came here, and I certainly hope that my grandchildren and maybe my great-grandchildren would be here.
Yes, and we hope indeed that the school will survive. Now, as we were both committee members, what do you think of the final result of the efforts that everybody put in, most of all, Mrs. Buckley?
Oh, absolutely. This has been amazing. I suppose the whole lead up to this, when we started away back in February, I suppose, was it, when we started already and got together, even the get-togethers, you know, the meetings and things like that were absolutely most enjoyable because we learned an awful lot. And I suppose things that happened through the years that we had all forgotten about all came to light again. And I suppose the putting together of the book as well was lovely, absolutely.
I heard somebody today saying that they enjoyed their school days, especially when the water froze and they got days off. We didn't get any of those.
No, because freezing water didn't make a lot of difference to us in our time because water wasn't used a lot in school anyway. Our toilets certainly didn't need any water, and water really didn't make a lot of difference.
And we had big windows, so the electricity, if it went out, we still carried on anyway. You could stand near the window, or as we were often put in the back of the room.
Absolutely, and we had a grand big open fire, a big coal fire, so heating wasn't an issue either, because that was the form of heating. And as you say, we had big windows, left in plenty of light, so electricity really wasn't an issue either. So really we were very self-sufficient when it came to being in school, no matter what the weather brought us.
No child walks to school now, Harley, like we did. How far was it you walked?
I suppose definitely 2 miles, a little over 2 miles, I suppose. Yeah. Morning and evening.
Morning and evening, and I'd be about 1.5 miles. And of course, we sauntered home, picking a few hearts or.
That's right. That's right, indeed. In the evening, we used to, and they were lovely that time. And there was loads of them. Like you wouldn't see them now, but the ditches were full of them that time.
I suppose we'll blame the hedge cutter, will we?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to blame someone, the farmer or the hedge cutter or someone. There's someone, but it was the briars, you know, with the blackberries. They were huge, and there was loads of them there.
And the birds' nests, and we checking them all and keeping an account of all.
Absolutely, and everyone had their own. You dare go near them. Yeah.
It is lovely to talk to you tonight, and thanks very much for talking to me here. Thanks a million.
Photograph anywhere, whatever it is.
Now we're back here now on our second day of the Centenary celebrations for Rylane National School, and I'm delighted to have two ladies here with me, two Knocknagown women as a matter of fact, Joan Reardon, Scanlan, and Mary Harley. Mary, I'll speak to you first. Have you great memories of your days in Rylane School?
I suppose we had good and bad.
Good and bad.
You know, but when you walk down to school, you know, it could be a very wet day. We used to like going to school on bad days because we didn't have any lessons.
Yes.
But other than it was same as everybody else, as enjoyable as we could make it, I suppose.
Very good, Mary. And Joan, yourself and Mary would have walked down the road together, even though you weren't in the same class.
Yes, we would. A lot of the time we would. But then sometimes we used to get a spin from the horse and car. They'd be going to the creamery and they'd have the churns, so we'd hop in between the churns. They'd stop and pick us up and they'd drop us off in Rylane village then again. So we'd head away down to the school then from that.
Right. And of course, as you said, the milk was warm in the churns, so it was a help.
Oh, it was. We just loved to put our hands near it and our legs and everything. We'd stand in between them. They were very hot at the time because the milk would be only being put into them and they're going to the creamery with it.
Now, coming here today, do you see an awful lot of changes in the school compared to the school that you went to?
Oh, it's completely a different school. very different. The only things that is the same are the desks, you know, the old-fashioned desks. But everything else, I couldn't imagine how times have changed in the last, 50 years, I suppose.
Exactly. Times really change. And John, you're living in Dunamore now. And what is your thoughts of the school as it stands today?
Here, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, it's a way different. I wouldn't have a notion. It was the school I went to. It was very different that time. We'd go in the main door and we were inside in the long corridor, and you had room 1 and room 2. Do you know, it was so different that time. It's much more glamorous now, and you know, all the pictures up and all this thing.
Yes, it is glamorous, we must say that, yeah. Now, Mary, I believe you could maybe tell me some story that you might have in your mind for some years.
I was just, there's this thing, when I went in there to the room a while ago to see the old-fashioned radio, and there was a man in Knocknagown. He used to, if there was good news, he'd listen to the radio, and if there was good news in it, God bless you, poor man. And then there was a young fella, when Dinjo used to be on long ago, Dinjo playing the music and talking and so on, the young fella, he pulled the back out of the radio part to see Dinjo inside in it.
Those were simple days, Mary. They were simple days. And of course, Dinjo had taken the floor, like it was the first time that dancing was done on radio, wasn't it? Did you listen to Dinjo, Joan?
I did, yeah, definitely we did, yeah. We thought it was magic. When we'd hear the tip-tap, and sure we were, you know, we were excited about it all. It was brilliant. It was very good that time, because it was just a big thing that came on all of a sudden, like, and those things weren't happening at the time. That was the first of it, really.
Well, ladies, it's great to talk to you here, and I'm delighted you spoke to me here today, because it's great to see people coming back to their old school, and thanks very much indeed for speaking to me today. Now, my next guest here today is Liam Kelleher, a well-known singer and raconteur in his own right, living in Dromahane. Liam, nice to have you back here in the school.
Thanks.
Are you happy to be here today?
I am very happy to be here on this beautiful sunny day.
And I see all your family are around there, your brothers and sisters there.
Yeah, I just had to sample a beautiful selection of sandwiches in the hall, and whoever made them should go into business because they would sell.
Brilliant. Our compliments to the chef.
Yes, to the chef, or chefess, whichever.
Now tell me, Liam, it is a few years since you were here.
It is. I was just looking at the roll book inside there. No, I was born, I won't tell you when, a few years ago. Yes. But I think I left the school here in 1957. I thought it was 58, but then again, they could have made a mistake, like, yes, you know, because they were probably making me older than what I should have been, like, you know. Yes. But but it was nice to see your name, Liam O'Kelleher, on the roll book, you know.
Yes, it was, of course. And, of course, the school was a lot different when you came here, and things looked different.
It did, and it felt different too to what it is today. You didn't see any oil-fired central heating, and only a turf fire and the bottles of milk around it, yes, to keep the old milk warm. That was the dinner, like a couple of slices of brown bread and a bottle of milk.
How bad it was too? So it was
all right, yeah.
So, of course, you didn't have far to come. Like you were one of the lucky ones. You didn't have a long walk.
A couple of 100 yards, 400 yards, I think, by measurement. Like.
But of course, you had to be careful then in the evenings that you were off the road before the master went home.
That was the big problem. But to see, lots of times you'd be held up, you know, because the Knocknagown crowd would be trying to take on the Rylane crowd, and the Rylane crowd, they were trying to take on the Lower Cross crowd, and there used to be a free-for-all several evenings, like, you know, but there was nobody killed. But it was just a friendly argument, like,
yes,
you know.
Yes, and
there was a lot of problems, like, you know, on the way home from school. Yeah.
Yeah, they were generally done, yeah, although I think in my time it was slackening off, like, I think, you know, maybe we were more civilised, were we?
I think so, that would be the word. But then when Master Buckley would be, you'd time him coming out the gate of the school with the bicycle. When he arrived, everything was sorted out then, you just go home, like, because you would be afraid to show your puss the following morning, like. Exactly. You'd be reprimanded, I tell you.
Exactly. So, Liam, Well, I'm delighted that you had a nice look around today and that you were fed and found. And thanks very much for coming and for doing this interview.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael, and the best of luck, and long may Rylane survive.
Amen to that. Thank you, Liam. And my next guest here now this afternoon is Chrissy Savage. Her married name is Riley, and Chrissy is back from New York to visit today. Chrissy, you're very welcome back here to this.
Oh, thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here.
You've seen a lot of changes in the school since you left it.
Oh, yes, for the better. Let me tell you.
All for the better.
Yes.
All for the better. Now, what are your memories of in the school and the friends that you had here? Do you still keep in touch with them?
Still keep in touch with a lot of the friends that I made in Rylane School. And walking to school was not easy at that time. Yeah, the cold and rain, and everybody walked though, but we all walked together. So it probably that was a pleasant experience because we all walked together and we had fun coming and going.
And coming and going, yeah. And then you very early in your life you left for New York.
Yes, I left for New York when I was 16, and I've been there since, in New York. I got married, yes. I have 4 daughters and 14 grandchildren. So
you're kept busy now. Are your grandchildren near you in New York, some of them?
They live around me, yes. I am a busy person.
That's excellent, isn't it? Yeah. So are you enjoying your trip back here now today? And
I am very happy to see everybody.
And of course, your family are still here. Your sister Helen and your brother Ted.
Yes, they're still here. I like to come and visit my family and see everybody and see my friends.
Well, it's great to see you, Chrissy, and it's great to see you back again. And thank you very much indeed for talking to me.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks, Chrissy.
All right.
And my next guest here this evening is Jackie Hargan from Coachford, and Jackie has supplied us with great information that contained in the book as you will read it. Jackie, you're very welcome here to Rylane.
Thanks, Mr. Kelleher.
And you have a lot of knowledge of the original Master Kelleher that was here. Can you tell us something about your knowledge of him and your relation to him?
Well, he would be my great-granduncle, my mother's uncle. And my mother was Mary Eliza Kelleher, born in Knockcrower. And she went to school here in Rylane all her life. And 1931, she married my father, John Hargan, of Knockanon, Coachford. Yeah.
So, Master Kelleher, did you remember Master Kelleher that was here?
Yes, I barely remember Master Kelleher. I think I would have seen him a couple of times, but I'd have been quite young. I was about 11 years and 4 months when he died.
And did you know any of his family then, or his wife?
No, I didn't know. I can't recall the family. He had 2 sons, doctors, and one of them died, a very young man. The doctor, he was buried in St. Bar Cemetery in Cork City. He died, I think, around 29. I'm not dead sure now, but I think to be right out around that.
You seem to be a man that have a load of history. Do you keep a lot of history?
Well, I am reasonably good at history. It's something I always took an interest in.
Yeah, and you'd have a big interest in family relations and all that.
Yes. And he had 2 sons. And there were 2 doctors, and one of them worked for years in London, the man who had lived, and he had one of his wife was a Kennedy from Dublin. They were from Limerick, Tipperary, I think, but they were connected some way to the Kennedys, the bread people that were in Dublin. No, I don't know too much more than that.
Very good. So what are your thoughts on this school today compared to the school that you went to, even though you didn't go to this school? I mean, there's such changes in the schools nowadays. All schools have changed.
This is massive now. The school here at present now is absolutely massive.
What would you think your ancestor, Master Kelleher, would think if he was here today?
Well, I think he'd have been very proud of the teachers who succeeded him. I think he would have been. He was a very good teacher, it seems. Very concerned about his pupils. That's what I always heard anyhow. He had an aim of being a very good teacher, by, I think, all pupils. The greater bulk of them, I'm sure, who went to Rylane at the time, I always had down the years had great respect for him and great time for him.
And of course, my father told me that he taught them Latin and Greek roots and all that.
He was supposed to be brilliant at it, and there were a lot of pupils came in from other schools into him here as well to Rylane. That's no disrespect to any teachers from other areas, but I think he was a bit of an exceptional man.
So he set a high standard for the school in his day.
Standard, I think Rylane was put very much on the map. I always heard of pupils who went from Rylane to the mine in Cork, and they were classed to be ahead of their time there in subjects more than the children that came in from other national schools.
Very good, Jackie, very good. And well, that's lovely to talk to you, Jackie, and thanks a million for coming today and for all you contributed to the book. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keller.
You're very welcome.
I wish the Rylane 100 committee and all wonderful success, and hope that things will be as good, if not better, when another 100 years come around.
Thank you very much indeed. Now I have with me this evening, our next guest is Anne Ring from Glounthaune, and Anne is here because her mother, I believe, went to school in Rylane. Is that true?
That's right. My mother was at Nora Cooney from Kerry Road, and she went to school along with her sister Mary and her brothers Patrick, Dennis, Jim, Michael and Tim, brother Olin. A lot of people would have remembered him.
They would have remembered him, and of course Jim would be very well remembered for his songs, the beautiful songs he wrote.
That's right. I think there's about 9 of them in the book, Songs and Poems of the Lawney Valley. Yes. And whilst he left Rylane, but his heart never left Rylane. And on his headstone in Tipperary, it's late of Rylane.
Very good. So he never forgot it. He never forgot it.
And neither did his family, you know. One of his daughters is in Roscommon. She was the former mayor of Sligo, Sheila Hanley. So she was the former mayor, but all of them treasure Rylane because they listen to him so often.
That's brilliant. And your father was a hurler, I believe?
Yeah, my father was Bobby Ring, and he played with the famed Carricktool Club. He was from Ballinacurra, and he was in the 1928 minor, the first time Cork won the minor, and he was only 14 at the time when he won his minor medal. So he also played against Kilkenny in the famed Thunder and Lightning final. Unfortunately, they lost to Kilkenny by a point, but he got his All-Ireland medal in 1941.
Very good. And did any followers of the in the hurling game? Was there any ancestors?
Well, my brother Jerry played quite a lot with the Erin's Own club, and Jim, my brother, is very much involved with Bishopstown. He would be the current chairman and of the ladies' football, and very much involved in underage in Bishopstown. So.
Now, if your mother or Jim were to come back today, what do you think they'd think of this Rylane National School?
Well, they would absolutely be thrilled to think that it's still here. There are so many schools have been closed everywhere around the country, which is a shame. And my uncle, Brother Olin, he always called it the Academy. Yes. Everybody, all the Capuchin friars knew the academy was in Rylane because he made sure, and he said what was taught and learned in Rylane was really third level.
Really? Wasn't that fantastic? Yeah.
And everybody knew, all the friars today, if you mentioned Rylane, they'd say, oh, the academy. That's where he came from.
And where was Brother Rowland? Where did he work? And
his main base was in Dublin. He was in Church Street in Dublin in the Friary for 46 years, and then he came back to Holy Trinity in Cork, and he's buried in Rochestown in the Friar in the Capuchin.
And was Jim the only poet in the family? Did anybody other write a verse or poetry or anything?
His family kind of would be, but not as famous. You know, the small things like that, but not as famous. But like they all had, I think, a great singing voice. Mick, very much from what I hear, had a very good voice, and when Rylane had plays and all these sort of things, he was very much treading the boards of it, like, you know.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, that's excellent, and of course, they were, you come from a very talented family. Sorry, it's delighted to have you here today, Anne, and it's great that you were able to make it, and thanks a million for coming.
It's our pleasure. I can show you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you very much.
All the best.
And my next guest here now today is all the way from Dublin, even though she's no stranger at all to Rylane. Mary Crowley, you're very welcome, or maybe I should call you Mary Lorton.
No, Mary Crowley is just fine, Michael. Thank you very much. I was Mary Crowley for a long time before I was Mary Lorton.
Yes. Well, Mary, you went to school here in Rylane, as we know well, and then you went on to secondary school in Cork, was it?
No, I started school in Rylane age 4, and I was here till I was 12, and then I went to Trishan, to boarding school. And then I came back and I went to university in Cork, but I never moved out of Rylane very much until I met Harry Lorton, and he whisked me off to Dublin, and that's where I've been.
And that's where you've been since, yeah. So you're married in Dublin and you have 2 children.
I have a daughter who's 34 and a son of 31. Yeah.
Very good. And no grandchildren yet, you tell me?
No grandchildren, Michael. No, we'll be waiting another while, I think.
So you're free and easy now. You don't have any babysitting to do or anything like that, Mary?
True, that's the good side. No babysitting. No, only mine myself.
Just tell me 1 or 2 memories of your time here in Rylane. Just things that might run into your head, simple things.
It's funny, I don't know whether anyone else has talked about it, but I remember the master shirts. I don't know does anyone else remember them. He used to have the white, the stripy shirts and the detachable collars and the detachable cuffs, and they were always spotless. And I don't know, they're one of my memories of seeing him up there at the top of the classroom in his beautiful shirt.
Yeah, and of course he always wore a sports jacket.
He did, that's right, I'd forgotten about the sports jacket, yeah.
Yes, and I think, if I remember, he used to have the leather in
the elbows. That's yeah, right, so that it get worn there from leaning, I suppose, on the desks or whatever. Yeah, I remember.
So now, Mary, that you're back here today, what do you think of the changes that are in the school since you were here?
They are just so positive. It's amazing. It's wonderful to see the place. And I didn't even know there was that hall, beautiful hall built out the back there. And I've been reminiscing, which isn't the right thing to be doing when you're talking about a hall where people were eating, having tea and scones. But the toilets, when we were here, were out there, or very close to that, the outside toilets. And I think they're all gone, but yet I was delighted to see that someone had kept the memories of the desks and the inkwells and the old maps that were around the place. I'm delighted to see one room. I mean, it's history like, but it's lovely to see one room that as it was with the fireplace. I've been looking for the fireplace since I came in the other 2 rooms, but no fireplaces. No
fireplace. All changed to oil, and instead of supporting the turf cutters, now we're supporting the oil barrels.
Exactly. But it's wonderful to see the place, and it's great to see that there are numbers here to keep it going.
It is.
When I think that they nearly closed it many, many years ago.
That is correct, yeah. And long may it last, Mary. Mary, it was lovely to talk to you here today, and I'm delighted that you came to talk to me.
I'm thrilled to be here. Nice talking to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you. And my next guest here now this evening is all the way from Kenturk. No stranger to Rylane, indeed. Noel Keller, you're very welcome here this evening.
Thank you very much, Michael.
No, Noel, you traversed the road down to school like myself, and it's a few years past now. What are the best memories you have of coming to school?
Well, I suppose some of the first memories I have of coming to school is when I used to come with no shoes. It wasn't because we had no shoes, but it was very fashionable to take them off. And of course, as far as I know, the road from here up to the cross was not tarred in those days. I started here in 16th of March 1953. Right. I was old to be starting school, and I stayed here until 1961. But anyway, in the early years, going to school with no shoes was the done thing. And later on, then we tried it when they tarred the road, but of course we brought the tar into the school with us, and there was a stop put to that, you know.
There was, of course, yeah, because the brushing in the evening, that wouldn't, the tar and wouldn't suit that. Now, from there, then you went on to secondary school.
Yeah, I did the primary cert, if anybody knows what that is. I did that in 1961. They say I passed it. We'll leave it at that, you know. So I went off to Cork to school, into to the Presentation Brothers. And when I was finished there, I went to UCC. And believe it or not, I turned myself into a teacher. And I didn't come back to Rylane. I came to Kenturk in a secondary school. And I started there in 1973. And I finished up 5 years ago, 2009. So I'm retired 5 years.
Hard to believe that you retired 5 years now, isn't it?
Very, very hard. I do look so very, very young, you know.
Indeed you are. And you certainly sound young. Yeah. So how did you find teaching in Kentucky compared to the teaching that you got in school? Was the times much different? Well, and since the students...
The teaching changed an awful lot in my time in Kentucky. I spent 36 years teaching there. It changed an awful lot. Affluence took over towards the end. Money was no problem whatsoever. Before that, money was a problem and everybody was levelled out, you know. But I have great memories of being here in school. I was no good at football or hurling or anything like that. So I learned how to survive here amongst all the tough men from Rylane. Some of them I still know. So, as I say, I was secondary teaching then, you see. But Master Buckley, of course, was my mentor here. And before that, my first cousin, Nan Leahy.
Nan Leahy. And of course, Nan was that wasn't always a great help to have your first cousin a teacher, was it?
Well, it had. She never helped me in the homework, but in those days, if you didn't have your work done or if you misbehaved, you got a clip across the ear, or sometimes maybe 2 or 3 clips across the ear. And while most fellas would laugh at the fella getting it, I certainly didn't laugh at anybody getting it because of the fact that I was her first cousin. There was a certain, I was collaborating in this thing, you know. So I knew that if you got it today, I got it from you this evening then. So I think I was the fastest fella that could ever travel from the gate outside there up to the cross and in above to where Rita lives now for refuge.
For refuge, back home for refuge.
And hope to God that I'd have forgotten it by the time the following day came, you know. It did have its drawbacks, all right, at that time, you know.
Well, certain drawbacks, but of course it was an advantage after you left. Then, after you left Nan's room, you were in with Master Buckley, and I suppose the same did not apply there.
No. I was able to. I had a couple of good friends here, you know. Connie Nocton was good to me. He minded me all the time, and Mick Welsh, Ned Coig, they were my 3 minders. You know, and if they had to get at me, they had to go through the boys as well, you know.
Well, that was a great help, wasn't it? Like, especially Con Nocton, he was big, like.
He was, yeah. Connie was, yeah. I haven't seen Connie for donkey's years. No.
Yeah. Now tell me, you're back here now today, Noel. What is your thoughts on the changes that are here in this school?
Oh God, the desks there near me are about the only thing I recognise. You know, we had 4 rooms here, which are still here, I take it, but we were only using 2 rooms at the time. The rest of it was for, there was a folding door here and these maps were hanging up. So when you were a bowled by, you were put standing to face the map, you know, yes, of Europe and, as we used to call it, the Lair Scail.
Lair Scail na Horpa, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you wouldn't tell your mother and father when you went home that you were looking at the Lair Scail. Anyway, there were certain things you left in school after you.
Well, and rightly so, I suppose, really. But
looking at another Lair Scail when you went home.
No, but they weren't the worst days, of course. We all think they were, but they weren't really the worst days of our lives.
No, they weren't. Although the last year I was here, I didn't wait till the end at all because the money was beckoning, thinning the beet and the turnips for the farmers. So they'd have to be doing that in May, you see. So my attendance was very poor after I doing the famous inter-cert, or primary cert. We've almost forgotten what that's like now.
But of course, these desks are only in they're only brought in for the day, and of course, everything else has changed. But I think they're changes for the better. You would agree?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And for some reason, the roll, we used to have a slate on the wall for the roll, and to my memory, the number always was 46 students. It seemed to never change.
You have a great memory on that. I can't remember that.
46, I can never remember that number being anything else, only 46. And I notice now that it's 77 Thank you.
And do you remember the green bottle up on the cofre that he used to? It was some sort of air freshener.
Oh, yeah, that was Airwick. Airwick, yeah. That's right. That's right, yeah.
So, Noel, it was lovely to have you here today and very nice to talk to you. We don't meet that often, but it's great to see you again, and I hope you enjoy your trip here around the school.
I do indeed, yeah. I do. I was dying for it, and I was on to Rita to make sure that I wouldn't miss it, you know, because these things only come once every 100 years, and my chances of the next one are, well, maybe a small bit less than 100%.
Thanks again, Noel. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.